Well, hello again, everybody. This is Dan John from danjohnuniversity.com, and this is podcast 150. And I wanted to stop for just a moment and kind of catch my breath and remind everybody that I'm a little amazed that it's episode 150. When I had episode 100, I talked about the fact that I was amazed that I got to 100. And someone posted in the YouTube thing, I don't see what the big deal is. And it was kind of a jerky comment. And it was like, wow. Because talking with Pat Flynn, Pat said an interesting thing. He said that most podcasts rarely make it over 7 total broadcasts. And I can understand why, to be honest with you. There are times where putting together the podcast is really difficult. We're almost 3 years on this podcast, and life happens in 3 years. We do our best to answer each and every question, but sometimes this guy, Dan John, isn't here. I go to England, I go to Germany, I go to Okinawa, I go to Japan, I go to all kinds of places, and I go to Hawaii and Florida. And sometimes it's real hard to have all the equipment necessary to do the podcast. And so getting to 150 podcasts is difficult. I know a lot of people who've had podcasts, and I'll get a call 5 or 6 years later and they'll say, I'm starting the podcast again. And I always think to myself, wow, there's some lack of momentum there. So first off, I have to thank you, gentle listener, for paying attention. My YouTube channel has grown really large considering what kind of channel this is. I don't tell you the hidden secrets of The Sopranos. I don't cut to the funniest moments of The Office. I certainly don't dance around in a bikini as much as I used to, though I'm willing to bring that back to get the numbers up. It is a different thing. I answer questions every week, and I talk about things. What I wanted to do today is first stop and just recheck in, talk about some things, where we're heading and where we're going in the future. First, I have to thank Brian Gwaltney. Brian, of course, is the person that just really changed my life. He's truly the inspiration behind danjohnuniversity.com. He's the one that takes these videos, cuts out when I forget what I'm talking about, makes me look charming and insightful. In real life, I'm not this handsome. Brian had the ability, a rare ability. He read all my books. He took the concepts, he applied them to himself, he applied them to others, and then he realized that my system really is a system, which I've been trying to explain for years. And he was able to take the way we look at things and then put it into a way to apply it for everybody, anywhere, 24/7. It's called Dan John University, the workout generator. And whatever equipment you have, whatever exercises you know or don't know, how many days a week, you push a few buttons and it spits out a workout that's designed for you, the equipment you have, and your needs. I mean, come on, that's the goal. I'm very proud of it. As I look over the 150 episodes, which does amaze me to think about, one of the things I've been noticing is that the episodes here on the podcast are beginning to tie in and dovetail nicely with the weekly newsletter, Wandering Weights. Again, if you're not subscribing to Wandering Weights, just go to either danjohn.net or danjohnuniversity.com and just register there. We don't do anything with your emails except send out Wandering Weights to you. That's what it does. We certainly don't sell. Somebody asked me if I sell the emails, and I didn't even know what they were talking about. it would be, to me, that'd be like selling your friends. I don't. It's something I don't do. Well, let me talk about a couple of things that I've really picked up over the last couple of years. Probably the most interesting thing, and it's a question that, if I was to list the questions that I struggle with the most, this first point is it. And it's basically just exercise selection based on equipment. I get a lot of questions from people who try to, and I understand because I do it myself, but you take a powerlifting program and you try to apply it to a kettlebell program. You take a kettlebell program and you try to apply it to a barbell program. I have one program called the 10,000 Swing Challenge, and I'm proud of it. I'm it made me, it certainly got me famous. It certainly didn't me a lot of money, but it got me famous. And I'll have people who ask me, can I do this with a barbell? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know of a barbell exercise you could do 500 times a day for 20 straight days ish. But doing 500 squats with just the bar itself, the barbell itself, that would be an interesting program. And what would it do for you? I have no idea, but I tell you one thing, you're going to have a hard time with flights of stairs and certain bodily habits. Yeah. Taking Olympic lifting programs. Dan, I want to do your Olympic lifting program, but all I have is kettlebells. I get these questions, and they're very difficult for me to answer. So that's why at the workout generator, the first question is, what equipment do you have? For me, I like dumbbell programs if you have dumbbells. I like barbell programs if you have barbells. I like kettlebell programs if you have kettlebells. Obvious, I know. The bulk of my personal training is original strength. As I'm saying this, is original strength and Olympic lifting, because my goal right now is an Olympic lifting meet coming up. But generally, the bulk of my training is a suspension trainer and kettlebells, ab wheel, and a hip thrust machine. But the ab wheel and the hip thrust, in a sense, are kind of redundant, even though the hip thrust and the ab wheel are marvelous exercises. I mean, just marvelous exercises. But so when we talk about the way I program things, mentally I have original strength, easy strength with Olympic lifting, and then I have the kettlebell suspension trainer stuff. And in my mind, it's real simple for me to just shift gears from 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks up to an Olympic lifting meet. Meet ends, I come in Monday, my traps are sore, my neck hurts here, I have some general soreness around the body, and I go back to a standard kettlebell program. When it comes to certain things, like with dumbbells, I think dumbbells are marvelous for, obviously the upper body pushes, the one arm, two hand, the alternating work is marvelous in the pull family. Correctly done dumbbell row is amazing. Dumbbells do fall a little south when it comes to the hinge and squat movements. And certainly, and people are going to give examples of how to load them up. And my thought generally is that's nice, but the dumbbells are great for upper body, push pull, and then they're great for the second thing is complexes and any kind of variations on circuit training and complexes. Oh, they're marvelous for that. When you're doing something like you want to get yourself into great shape and you decide to do dumbbell dead hang snatches, you can really get tired doing them. When I first did one-handed snatches, back when I was trying to figure out the transformation program with dumbbells for a person, dumbbell dead stop snatches might not look pretty to a kettlebell enthusiast, but they certainly get the job done. When you look at the world of kettlebells, the RKC6, So that'd be the goblet squat, the press, the Turkish get-up, the swing, the clean, and the snatch, kettlebell style. Those 6 can keep you busy and happy for decades as a coach and trainer. And then, of course, when you slide over to the barbell, I still think that the 3 power lifts, the bench, deadlift, squat, and the original 3 Olympic lifts, the clean and press, the snatch, and the clean and jerk, those 6 exercises, those can do marvels for you. The issue comes, of course, when people decide to do an Olympic lifting, powerlifting workout with this equipment, and with this equipment, try that. Can it be done? Well, sure, but there's going to be compromises. But remember, there's always compromises when it comes to physical conditioning. There's always compromises. It leads us directly to the second most common thing that I think I've seen over the 150 episodes is people trying to balance life. And of course, the managing compromises shows up. Real quick, let me give you this real fast. It's a concept I use in a number of my books, and I like it a lot. It's managing compromises versus managing options. When it comes to, there's 2 things this works well with on options: track and field and fat loss. That's kind of interesting. In track and field, you really only have 2 questions you have to answer. Question number 1 is, what technique are you going to use? If you're a discus thrower, there's the Utah State technique. There's the linear technique. Oh, and there's that more blocky East German style where they really emphasize the block. You need to throw 10 to 15,000 times a day. A year, a day. You got to pick one. I mean, certainly, I utilized elements of all 3, but my best throwing was when I stuck with one and mastered it. If someone said you need to do this more like that person, what I should have thought was, no, that person is using that style. This is my style. So 3 options, pick one. If you're a high jumper, really everybody just flops now, but there's other options. So option number 1 is pick one on the technical side. When it comes to strength and conditioning for the discus thrower, there's power bodybuilding, there's Olympic lifting, there's strongman and Highland Games training, there's Olympic lifting, and the one I like the best when you combine them all. I like having Olympic lifting, strongman, Highland Game training, powerlifting, and some power bodybuilding with my throwers. But not every single day of the week. And that, of course, is to make that work is a little bit more the art of coaching, though you could also argue, oh, Dan, it's science. You do this here, you do that there, you do this here. And I would be fine with that, but you got that information from experienced people. When it comes to fat loss, here are the options. There are 10 billion diets. Pick one. They all work. Follow it. Oh, someone's going to write, they don't all work. They all work. The research is clear. All diets work to almost exact same in a 2-year block. You have to do some kind of inefficient exercise. It can be like I do heavy hands and rucking. That's inefficient. You could go ride a crappy bicycle like I do. I think there's real value. Cross-country skiing is extremely inefficient. It'd be much better to use a snowmobile. Of course, if you compare an elite Olympic cross-country athlete and you look at a typical snowmobiler, you'll see the difference that inefficient exercise can do for you. So that's managing options. In a lot of sports, it's called managing compromises. And American football is all about managing compromises. I remember we were sitting at a workshop one time, and a coach from a school I don't really like very much. It's in the Midwest, and the coach was up there, and he just kept saying, "Well, we expect this, we expect this kid to be able to do this, this, and this." And my friend John raised his hands, and he said, "Well, and we're sitting there going, we've never had an athlete be able to do this, but this coach expects him to do this, this, and this on one play." And he raised his hand, and "What if you don't?" He goes, "Well, I'll find somebody who can." And I thought to myself, well, okay, well, this entire workshop was a waste of my time because, at the schools I taught and coached at, we just didn't have that many superstars. In fact, you probably get one a career if you're lucky. It just doesn't happen very often. So what we had to do is go back home and manage compromises. Very often when I coached at the lower levels in American football, I would try to have one side of the line, offensive line, my strong athletes, and then I would put other people in numbers on the other side, and we would never go in that direction. We would run just in this direction. And people said, well, won't the other team figure it out? And I said, well, they'll figure it out the second I go in the other direction. Actually, long term, that worked out great because you can develop those two kids you had to compromise and have, and you can develop them along. Sometimes it just takes longer. Parents sometimes will say to me, I saw the Green Bay Packers do this thing this weekend. Why can't you? And my thought would be, well, let's see. If I had a boy who could throw 70 yards accurately and another boy who could run a 4.3 40 and catch the ball, I would run that play. And when I do, until I do, I'll probably put that off. Balancing life can be a lot about managing compromises. I don't think there's a listener to my podcast who wouldn't agree that there's a value in training to look good, feel good, move good, and learn English better. But I was there. I mean, I had the 4 and the 6-year-olds and getting them ready for preschool and fighting to get them to wear pants or dresses or getting them fed, getting their faces washed. While you're driving there, you look in the back seat and you hear, why did you say uh-oh? And God only knows what happened in the back seat or in the child, the protective seats. And you look and there'd be all kinds of stuff on one of them. And you'd have to, when you got to the daycare, you'd have to, put on a fresh set of clothes, clean them up. And every time those little events happen, you come home and the sprinkler broke, and you come home and there's a leak in this and there's a broken that. And then, of course, you got to feed everybody, and the dog pooped in the carpet. And now I'm going to go work out. Well, that's tough. And that's why a lot of my programs, like the One Lift a Day, the transformation program, probably the bulk of my workouts are based around schedules for busy people. And I get it, little Lulu, the personal trainer at the gym, she wants you to come in 7 days a week to train with her for an hour because that's how she gets paid. And she has all these things she wants you to do. But the reality is there's not a lot of us who can leave our families an hour a day and let the spouse or the other people in the home take care of everything. It's hard to do it. I find that hard to do, and this is what I do for a living. So balancing life is a very common question here, and I try to float around with my friends over at Hibernate said this week. For me, I try to focus on the big 5. That's original strength. That's the movement stuff from Tim Anderson that we do. It's very similar to pandiculation. It's moving like a baby. It's doing simple movements, rocks, nods, marching in place, reminding the body about what the body's supposed to do. The second pillar on that would be easy strength. You get the workout in. You don't burn up every fiber of free will that you have, every neuron. You try to leave the gym feeling better than when you got there. The third is, of course, walking. I walk after every workout now, and it's not far. It's not far. It's a half an hour, 45 minutes. It's not far, not long. It's a conversation. We enjoy it. We learn. We move on. Proper nutrition. I learned this at the Olympic Training Center in 1984. Protein, veggies, water. If you need more specifics, I would start with the veggies. Get more fiber, more fermented food. Someone's going to raise their hand, and what do you mean by water? Drink water. There. And of course, and then the fifth one, the one that that is far more important than you think until you get children, and that's sleep. I'm a big believer in sleep hygiene. I have, when I travel, I have sleep masks. I have earplugs. I have these special headphones I bring. I use meditation tapes. I take a supplement, Hibernate. Dan John will get you a discount. The code Dan John will get you a discount. Um, and the reason I take that is it's got a little bit of melatonin, tiny trace amounts, but magnesium and some other things that help me get to sleep. If I can get 8 or 9 hours of sleep every day, do original strength every day, do easy strength as appropriate 3 to 5 days a week, walk every day, and at every meal, take care of my veggies, protein, and water, good things happen. One of the things I'm trying to do, and this is something I try to emphasize, is I'm at a place in my life where I made a little vow to myself. I'm not going to do something that I can't see myself doing for the rest of my life. So I've done the Velocity Diet, and I loved it. Thank you, Chris Schugert. 6 protein shakes a day. Raise your hand and ask me what else. That's it. 6 protein shakes a day for a month. I can't see myself doing that the rest of my life. I love the thing, and it's great if you need your psychological jump in your training. The V diet. There's a lot of other diets. There's a lot of things you can do. I can see myself intermittent fasting until I work out and walk, and then eat a heavily protein, lots of vegetables at my first meal, whatever you want to call that first meal, breakfast, brunch, lunch, it doesn't matter. And then every other meal I consume being about the same kind of, I can see myself doing that the rest of my life. And that's an important thing, and that's something I emphasize in the balance side. The next thing that seems to come up a lot is these very highly specific questions. What I try to do when I get those questions, hi Dan, I'm 83 years old and I want to learn mixed martial arts and canoe across the Atlantic Ocean. What kind of kettlebell training should I do, even though I don't have a kettlebell? And can I use, those are the tough ones. But what I always try to do on those questions when I step back is I try to broaden that question out into a much bigger audience. Frankly, I like the specific questions because sometimes in that specific question, there might be a point that makes me say, well, hold on here. I think to myself, this isn't just this is actually a question about this or a question about that. And so I really appreciate those questions. I do get concerned sometimes when someone will write in, I want a program for my son, or I want a program for my daughter, and they outline a lot, because not being there and not being able to gauge the interest of that child in the program, it just makes things a little more difficult. And also too, given a specific program for a 10-year-old, in my mind would be go outside and play with your friends. My sister posted a meme not long ago. It was a whole bunch of Stingray bicycles on a lawn. And the meme was something like, this is how we found out where the party was before social media. And I kind of like that because it really emphasized the way we did things when I was a child. We rode our bikes everywhere. Then we played for hours, and then we rode our bikes home. Our hydration was stealing a hose and drinking hose water. And when I grew up in South San Francisco, the hose water was so hot in the summer until it blew through the whole hose, and then it was so delicious to drink the water from the hose. We ate 3 meals a day. We had a bowl of Cheerios and a piece of white toast for our high performance breakfast. We ate a bologna sandwich with 1 slice of bologna, a cookie, and a banana for lunch. And then we had a meat, a canned vegetable, and some wilted salad for dinner. And that was the high performance meals I grew up on, literally. But hey, I turned out okay. Those hyper specific questions are great, and I like them. But make sure you listen to the other side for the bigger picture on everything that I'm always trying to do. The other specific thing that seems to come off a lot is the they question. And I actually like this one. I get a lot of they questions. It's eased off in the last few months, but for a while I was getting a lot of they questions. They always say they are doing this, they are doing that. I just want to, this is my last really big point. What I really would like to say is that what the elite performers are doing is rarely what you see on television. I know this when someone comes out to film here at the gym or take pictures at the gym. We always up it. We always up our show. We showboat a little bit more. We go a little bit heavier. We go a little bit longer. And we all pay a high price. Years ago, a magazine came out at my old gym to talk about training. A very famous magazine. And the photographer there was there for 2 days, and I think they got one photo. And I was joking with somebody about how if they'd have been there for 3 days, we'd have been in the hospital. That would have been the pictures, because we kept trying to make it nice for television. When I talk to famous athletes, one of the things I'll say, I read this thing that you did that, and they'll go, yeah, that was totally made up. We never did that. I have a lot of strength and health magazines, and I've been able to interview people who are featured in those magazines years later, and over and over again, I was told, yeah, I did that workout one time, and they made it look like that was my normal training program. I couldn't have survived that for one. And the one person told me, it was kind of funny, that was their goal, to one time do this thing, but Strength and Health had written it as the program. When you go back in history and you read some of the programs, and if you have someone like I have, Dave Turner, my Olympic lifting coach, he goes through and he does the math on these older programs, and he says, this is insane. And I'll ask the person, he goes, yeah, I don't know, I never said that. And it's just funny because, so you got to be careful about what they do in our field. Well, I know this was a different kind of moment, but I want to just stop and thank everybody for following along here on danjohnuniversity.com. As always, if you have questions, send them to podcast@danjohnuniversity.com. I enjoy answering the questions. In my perfect world, I would tell you to do push, pull, hinge, squat, loaded carry, do 15 to 30 reps per exercise, 3 sets of 8, 5 sets of 5. I would tell you to go for a walk after every workout. I would tell you to get 9 hours of sleep. I would tell you to eat vegetables, protein, and drink water at every meal. And make sure you get your mobility work done between sets with Tim Anderson's Original Strength. And really, that's what Dan John University, that's my goal, pardon me, is to make it that simple. And if you do that right, you'll have that wonderful quality I call snapacity. Snap, the ability to contract quickly, and work capacity, the ability to do a task for a long period of time. And of course, you combine the words snap and work capacity, snapacity, its ability to snap over a long period of time. And that's the model I'd like you to have for your longevity. I hope you got something out of this. I'm Dan John from danjohnuniversity.com, and I'm here each and every week to answer your questions. But until next time, let's all keep on lifting and learning. Thank you.